Steven Spielberg is back in full-on family fantasy mode with the BFG. I've seen the movie, and I have to tell you, I had a fantastic time with this thing. I didn't quite know what to expect when it started because everything was a little bit too CG'd, a little bit too perfect. Every frame looked so composed and just a little too clean. But you know, the movie really benefits from the skill that Steven Spielberg has at drawing fantastic performances from all of his actors. I love the fact that there are a lot of you know, unfamiliar faces in this movie, or at least faces that have been kind of expertly disguised so that they're not immediately familiar for us. We have Mark Rylance, who most recently worked with Steven Spielberg at The Bridge of Spies. He was an absolutely fantastic performer in that film, a complete scene stealer. He plays the titular role of the BFG in this movie, and honestly, the heart and soul of the film, the movie working, really kind of rests with him, because if we don't believe in the BFG, if we don't think of him as a kind-hearted, kind of downtrodden, bullied giant amongst a bunch of other larger giants, we're just not going to believe the heart and soul of this movie. But there's a fantastic chemistry that exists between this CG creation of Mark Rylance's the BFG and Sophie, played by Ruby Barnhill, who I've never seen before. And that's what I love about Spielberg, is that he can bring complete unknowns into his pictures and turn them into, you know, just high wattage film stars, you know, just people that can really give us powerful performances. And, you know, I think that Ruby Barnhill's performance is a little understated. She's not super flamboyant. She's not kind of a crazy, oh my gosh, type of screen darling. But she, you know, evokes a realism and a strength. And even though she's a preteen girl in this movie, she's got a lot of substance. She's got a lot of weight. She has to hold her own against literally these giants. And she does a fantastic job.
I won't tell. No one would listen to me anyway. I'm an untrustworthy child.
I think what starts to happen with this movie is your critical eye, your sense of kind of trying to figure out every composed shot and where all the CG effects start and end. That starts to drift away as you start to peel back the layers of the performance, and certainly Roald Dahl's original book, which this movie is adapted from. A lot of the turns of phrase and the fantastic dialogue and you know, the colorful language of that book is transposed so beautifully in this movie, and you kind of get lost in all of that stuff. And I think another remarkable element of this movie, of course, is that the BFG becomes a bit of a victim, somebody that you really care for, someone that you don't want the world of the human beings to kind of, they call them human beings in the movie, which is very endearing, but you don't want the human beings to kind of enter the land of giants and shake things up too much, even though the other giants, led by Jermaine Clement, who plays a character named Flesh Lump Eater, and Bill Hader, who plays Blood Bottler. Fantastic alliteration and fantastic words and character names and titles in this movie. Beautiful. But these giants are really mean to the BFG, and they are the ones that the humans should be scared for. And Sophie gets caught up in this conflict and really wants to help the BFG, who is bullied by these larger giants, and tries to get him to kind of stand up to all of these guys.
Does you have a new little petty poo?
It is a fantastic story, and it's definitely one that may freak out some of the younger viewers out there. I don't know if I would take a 3-year-old to something like this, but I think my daughter, my Ruby, is almost old enough and ready to go see the BFG. By the end of it, you are completely blown away by the scope of this movie, and I don't mean to be kind of dismissive or reductive here. It's obviously a movie about giants, but it's really well conveyed, and it's conveyed by a master who I think has been absent in this space for a long time. We've had him go off, Spielberg I'm talking about, has gone off on all of these very serious tacks and has done some fantastic, you know, filmmaking in lots of different directions. Talk about a guy with range. Talk about a guy that has just left an unbelievable imprint on cinema history. This movie kind of evokes some of that E.T. Sort of sensibility, that E.T. kind of flight of fantasy kind of vibe that we've been missing a little bit from Spielberg. That kind of work has been kind of lifted from people like J.J. Abrams doing Sense8 and things like that. We've missed Spielberg going off into this territory, and it's actually kind of amazing to know that he's moving on to Ready Player One and he's going to do Indiana Jones 5. It's like he is trying to recapture a little bit of that youthful, sort of wide-eyed enthusiasm that he's so famous for and has just really kind of perfected on screen for us. And I think, again, with the BFG, we get a sense of that. I don't know if it's going to have the lasting permanence of something like E.T., but I certainly had a wonderful time. I loved its uncompromising sort of jump into this fantasy world, and I think that he honors Roald Dahl's fiction wonderfully well. This is something that I think every family should go and see. I think you're going to have a great time with it this summer. It's definitely counter-programming to all of the dark, cynical movies that sort of populate the screens out there. Certainly we needed something like this in the family genre for a long time. I'm going to give the BFG an 8.5 out of 10. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.